So, hello everybody and welcome. Yes, welcome back here at BSN Network. Who get back here, BSN Network? This is the BSN Network podcast here today. It is Monday, March 7th. Hope everybody's having a day so far and a good rest of their day yesterday. Hopefully everybody had a very good weekend. We're coming off another big weekend in the world of sports. You had a lot of basketball and hockey on yet again. College basketball regular season officially wraps up. That was wrapped up yesterday. And now you head into this week full of the tournaments, and Selection Sunday is now just about 6 days away as Sunday. This upcoming Sunday will be Selection Sunday. We'll find out who's going to the tournament, who's not, and the madness will officially begin March 13th. That is Sunday. Super excited for that. Big week coming up in college basketball. You got all the SEC tournament. You got the Big Ten tournament. You got the ACC tournament. You got the Big 12, the Pac-12, all the big tournaments, the big ones, the Big East. All of them will be starting up this week as the madness really starts to begin and March really starts to kick in, and then we really get ready for a full-fledged March Madness and just full-on, head down, watch a ton of games. Full on, put your head down and just plow through a ton of games. Watch TV, have some on your phone, put them on the computer, have like 3 screens set up. The ultimate March Madness, the ultimate time of year where there's just a ton of college basketball and you don't know what to do with yourself. So you try to get as much as you can, and that's really the best thing you can do. So coming off a big weekend, like I said, to kind of get to the New York sports, just a tough one for the Nets yesterday. And I really don't know what to say at this point. I'm in a really frustrating loss. I know I uploaded a podcast on Friday. It was pre-recorded, so I haven't talked about the Nets Heat game. That's another frustrating one. Don't even get me started on that. You blow a 16-point lead in KD's return. You lose that game. And then now you play the Celtics yesterday and you lose again. So the Nets fall below 500 now, and it's really frustrating. It really is frustrating. It really is something that I, as a fan, am super, super frustrated. And I think, I definitely think the Nets, you could say it's because of Ben Simmons. You could say it's because of a million different things. The biggest thing for me is right now we're just not playing defense, and we aren't playing to our abilities. And I know we could play better than this. I know we are better than this. But right now, it's not working out. And right now, it needs to be it needs to be addressed. And I don't know, like I said, I don't know if once Ben Simmons comes back, this thing's going to turn around. But it's very frustrating, without a doubt. So, Nets took a tough loss. They'll be back in action tomorrow. Steve Nash, why is Drummond not playing? Just super, super frustrating. And then Rangers got the win last night against the Jets. So that was really good, 4-1. By the way, Igor Shesterkin, 3rd star of the week. So for the NHL. So yet again, another excellent week for Igor. Just continuing to remind us all why he deserves to be the Vezina Trophy winner, and continues to put on display excellence as we hope to see throughout the rest of the season into the postseason. Knicks got the win last night, and the Islanders will be back in action tonight at home against the Avalanche. So Knicks, Nets, both tonight are off. The Knicks are playing tonight against the Kings. Nets are off. Rangers are off. I meant to say Nets and Rangers are off tonight. Rangers back in action tomorrow against the Wild. Nets will be back in action tomorrow against the Hornets. Knicks play tonight, continue their West Coast road trip fresh off a big win last night against the Clippers. They'll be on the road in Sacramento tonight. And like I said, the Islanders will be at home, UBS Arena, to play the Colorado Avalanche. It's going to be a tough one there, but we'll see if the Islanders can pull it off and what all happens. Alrighty, so anyway, let's a lot to get to today on the podcast. We actually just got breaking news. Sorry if it looks like I'm looking at my phone a lot. We just got breaking news that Calvin Ridley has been suspended for the entire 2022 season. So this is massive news. This is huge news. News that really is unpredictable. Nobody saw coming. And I'm not going to probably get to it today just because it just happened. but news just broke that Calvin Ridley is out for the entire 2022 season due to betting on NFL games. So he was betting on NFL games, and now he is out for the entire season. He's suspended, can't play for at least the entire season. So the big rumors around him getting traded, going elsewhere, the Jets may be being involved, he is now suspended for the rest of the season. I'll probably talk about that either tomorrow or one of these days. Definitely tomorrow, because today I already have 2 topics. Anyway, let's get to the topics for today. Like I said, NFL, crazy time of year. You got guys getting suspended. You got franchise tag deadline tomorrow. You got the NFL Combine just ending. So I'm going to talk about a football topic today, and I also got a hockey topic as well. So I'm going to start off today's podcast with Amari Cooper and the rumors surrounding him. And it's not really rumors. It's more so he's expected to be released by the Cowboys to free salary cap space. So the expectation is Cowboys are going to release Amari Cooper. He's going to be a free agent, and he's free for the taking amongst all 32 of the NFL teams. This is huge news for many fans, and why I think the Jets need to go after him, and especially now that Calvin Ridley's going to be suspended, why this is one of the big name guys out there. And I'm going to show you some stats of just what Amari Cooper can do to help the team, and also his absence, if he does get released and goes elsewhere, how that really affects the Cowboys in a negative way. We'll get to that and much more. And then we'll get to the Claude Giroux rumors as well. Things are starting to heat up. NHL trade deadline right around the corner. The Rangers reportedly have been in contact, reportedly have kicked the tires, reportedly have been interested, showed some interest in the possibility of trading for Claude Giroux, Flyers, as we all know, where he's at right now. The expectation is Claude Giroux gets traded. The expectation he is on a different team come NHL trade deadline. The question is where and when will he get traded? Those are the 2 questions that need to be answered. I'm going to get to the rumors, get to the possibility of him going to the Rangers, and what this would mean for the Rangers, and is it a good fit for the New York Rangers to go out and spend some capital on Claude Giroux. And we'll also get to the New York sports update. So a little football, a little basketball, a little hockey as well. So little football, little hockey, and then we'll get to the New York sports update finish off. I cannot believe this Calvin Ridley stuff. So the report that just came out right now, NFL suspends Calvin Ridley. So Falcons receiver suspended for 2022 season for betting on NFL games in 2021. So he is out for the entire year, at least. And like you said, you never want to assume this stuff, but he was out because he had some mental health issues. And like I said, maybe he did. But now you wonder, was that really mental health issues, or was it just him taking time off so he could bet on games and make it less obvious? So definitely an intriguing story, and something that impacts, like I said, a lot. It really impacts the NFL and how free agency and how the rest of the offseason goes, because this was one of the hot names in the NFL to be out there without a doubt. And you look at teams like the Jets, and you look at teams like the Jets, and you look at teams, like I said, the Jets, and, it's just other teams, the Falcons. What are they going to do with him? He was a big trade target for many teams, and a lot of teams were looking into him. And now that he's suspended, that is one huge name that is completely out of the equation. And now you wonder, now you start to think of the other names that could be out there. Does a guy like Jerry Jeudy now, possibility maybe him being traded, could that higher the chances of that? Like, this is huge. And for the Falcons too, this is a massive loss. Calvin Ridley has really implemented himself as one of the better receivers in the NFL right now. And to bet on NFL games, number 1, is completely wrong. And now number 2, to lose him for the entire season. Number 3, you got to wonder too, what's the future for Calvin Ridley in the NFL? Can he come back from this? Is he going to be allowed? Like, now you get into the legal situation too. Betting on NFL games is not good. You can't. It's illegal as a player. This is almost like a Pete Rose situation. This is almost like a Black Sox situation with the White Sox back in the day. Betting on games, and now as sports books and stuff get so much bigger, things are beginning to really open up in terms of betting and all that stuff. And the Falcons, Calvin Ridley suspended for at least the 2022 season for betting on NFL games is really crazy. And now you go into the factor, and by the way, I'm going to actually switch up the topics. I'm going to talk about Calvin Ridley right now, and then I'm going to get to Amari Cooper. So it kind of just a crazy podcast, but I'm going to talk about Calvin Ridley right now, and then we're going to get to Amari Cooper, and I'll move Claude Giroux to a later date. But now you put into the equation of, with Calvin Ridley, now you put into the equation too, like I said, legal situations, where do you go from here, and stuff like that. So, like I said, with all that being said, this is the BSN podcast, and I'm just like I just said, I'm actually going to switch up the topics here. So Amari Cooper is going to get bumped down to the second topic today, and I'm going to talk about Calvin Ridley right now. It just happened, but I have so much to say on this. There's so much news still developing about this, and then I'm going to move Claude Giroux to another date. And like I said, now you bring into the legal situation too, and like I said earlier as well, like, you got to put into the factor now of, you also got to put in now where do the Falcons go from here? Do you completely get rid of him? I mean, he's suspended, so do you wait until next season? Do you get rid of him? And you also got to iron out too. This season, Calvin Ridley said this, that he was going to be, he was going to take time off from the game due to mental health, which everybody's got to completely respect. Some people really struggle from it. It's a terrible thing. And, he was struggling from it. That's what he said. He took some time off. Okay, that's fine. But if this now comes back and it really wasn't because of mental health, and it was really because he was betting on games and trying to sneak out and, bet on games and not make it public and not make it seem obvious, when he's out there and when he's playing, like I said, this is when the legal situation gets into it. And this is when, outside of football, it really could hurt you and really hurt your reputation and where you go from here. This is what's crazy. And a lot of people talk about this in sports, like putting a sports team in Vegas. Like, it's good for the team and it's good for it's a lot of money. But you got to wonder about the players, because the players, they get into the betting, go to these, betting and all the casinos and stuff, and you can mess up your career that quickly. And that's kind of what Calvin Ridley has just done to himself. He has really just messed up his career. He has really taken his career and put it for a turn for the worse, because now you wonder too, when he comes back from this suspension, can teams trust him with off the field stuff? Can teams trust him, off the field? Can teams trust him that he's okay off the field and that they can rely on him to be available game in and game out? Because if he missed this season, the majority of this season, and he said it was because of mental health, if he missed it because of betting on games and trying not to make it obvious, that's a concern moving down the road. Is he really loyal enough? Does he really love the game enough? Is he truly going out there and ultimately playing the game because he loves it and he wants to win? Or is the game just kind of a side thing for him? Like, now you gotta kind of take a step back and really look at Calvin Ridley as a person. Because betting on NFL games is illegal. Betting in any sport as an athlete's illegal. This is like a Chicago Black Sox situation. This is very similar to a situation like Pete Rose, where you're betting on games, you're illegally doing it. I mean, we all know what happened with the Chicago Black Sox. They purposely tanked in the World Series and they lost. This is the same type of thing, because now you wonder too, if he's betting on games and betting against his team, you wonder if he begins to purposely play bad. Like, these are all things that you start to put in the equation. And you got to look at him now as a person. And now this really starts to get to the point of, now you wonder too with the NFL in general, are more guys doing it and they don't know it? Because obviously this is something that they did not find out until today. This has probably been something that's been going throughout the entire NFL season. And now today they're finding out. So now you got to wonder, does the league take an extra step now to make sure that other guys aren't doing it that they don't know about? Is this the beginning of something where the NFL needs to take an extra precaution, extra, steps to make sure that other guys aren't doing illegal betting on games that they don't know about? I mean, really an interesting and very bad situation for Calvin Ridley in the NFL to be in right now. Because now you get to the legal stuff, and Calvin Ridley's done for the 2022 season. And now you look at it like, wow, what does this mean for his career and for teams like the Jets that were looking at him? There's so many different teams out there that were interested in him and looking at him. And now you look at the Falcons are a team as well that is going to be negatively affected by this. They already lost Julio Jones. Calvin Ridley was their guy. He was their future. Calvin Ridley had such a bright future in the NFL, and he's completely taken it, crumbled it up, and threw it out the window. Because now can he be trusted by other... Let's just say the Falcons move on from him due to this incident. Can he be trusted by other organizations? I mean, this is a year off of his career. He's going to miss this entire season, maybe longer. Who knows? This is it. Suspended for at least the 2022 season. So it could be 2 years he's suspended for. This could be something that could get really bad, and maybe it's much longer. This could be something where we might not see Calvin Ridley step on a football field ever again in an NFL uniform, whether that's playing for the Falcons or any of the other 31 NFL teams. And boy, does this change the trajectory of the offseason and teams that were interested in Ridley, the possibility of teams trading for Calvin Ridley. This really creates a lot of drama in the offseason and where teams are going to go. Are other guys now going to kind of take the place of Ridley in terms of where they stand? Because Ridley was one of the big guys on the market to be traded for. Yeah, Ridley out there was an option. People always wonder, what's going to happen with DK Metcalf in Seattle. If Russell Wilson ends up going anywhere, is DK gonna force his way out? I know there were some rumors surrounding Jerry Jeudy because you got to realize with the Broncos in their situation, if they were to go out and get Aaron Rodgers, and then if they were to go out and get Aaron Rodgers, let's just say that, and they're gonna have to pay him a ton of money. Jeudy down the road's gonna want a lot of money. So do you trade him now while his value's high? Judy's an option. So now you look at all these other trade options, and it's like, because the Falcons have said it, like they will field calls. Like the Falcons have made it clear, every team has made it clear, like Ridley was on the market to be traded for. And boy, oh boy, you gotta be glad, you gotta be thankful if you're an NFL team that was interested in, like the Jets, that this didn't happen after a trade. Because if this happened after a trade went down, and you gave up like 2 first-round picks and a good receiver from your team, and then you find out that he's suspended for the entire season, that would not sit well. The media, if the New York media, if he were to get traded to the Jets, and then this would happen, would tear it apart, would tear this apart. And you also got to wonder too, like I said, there's so many questions to this point, but you also got to wonder now as well, has he been doing this for many years? Has he been doing this for the past couple seasons? Has he been doing this since he entered the league? Has he been doing it? Was it just last season? Did he bet against his own team? What is it? There's so many questions still have to be answered. But if he's been doing this for a really, really long time, and it's really been, and I know he's so young, which hurts his career even more, the fact that he is so young. But if he's been doing this for his entire career since he's entered the league in 2018, like I said, he's been in the league for 4 years. This past season, he only played a couple games due to the mental health issues that he said he was having, which is a very serious thing. And if he is having that and he wanted to take some time off, that's fine. But now you wonder, was he really struggling from that, or was it to bet from games? He only played 5 games this season. So in his 4-year career, has he been doing it since 2018? Has he been doing it since he came into the league? Was it just last season? Was this something that has he bet against his own team? Because if he's bet against his own team, that's a real concern. That's a real problem. Then you get into the Black Sox scandal with the Chicago White Sox back in the day, where you're betting against your own team and you could be purposely playing bad just so then you earn money. That's when it really could get bad. Betting in general while you're in the league is bad. Let alone if he's betting against his own team, that's really bad. That could be something that could cause him to miss. So that could be something that could completely destroy his career, and he can maybe never step on a football field again for an NFL team. Whether that's the Falcons or any of the other franchises, like I mentioned earlier. If that's the case, that's really bad. So it's just terrible. I mean, it really is, because he has so much talent. 27 years old. Julio Jones is now gone. He's the main guy there, coming off of a great season in 2021 where he played 15 games, has 1,374 yards, showed progress in 2019. 2020 completely exploded. Last season only played 5 games due to the mental health concerns that he related his absence to. And then now to find out that he's going to miss the entirety of the 2022 season because he's betting on games. And now for the teams that were interested in him via trade, for the Falcons that this was their number one receiver, like this, Calvin Ridley, if he never did any of this, there was a good chance Calvin Ridley was the future in Atlanta. If they just decided to keep him, was the future in Atlanta for the next 10 years. Like, he had his spot there. He was in his, like, he was there. Like, he had his spot. Like, he had the number one receiver there. And now to be betting on NFL games, a bad look. And like I said, last season only played 5 games, but in those 5 games, he had 281 yards and 2 touchdowns. 31 catches, 52 targets. Like I said, he had an excellent 2020 campaign. And for a guy that's so young, so much talent, just turned 27 in December, really, really something that is very bad for him, the Falcons, and the rest of the league. And this isn't good. I mean, this is something that's really, really bad. By the way, so this is something Adam Schefter reported. So multiple NFL teams reached out to the Falcons in recent weeks to inquire about trading for Calvin Ridley. And each team, Atlanta, declined to enter into any talks out of good faith, knowing the issue in store for their standout wide receiver, per sources. Knowing the issues in store for their standout receiver, per sources. So, wow. So Falcons didn't entertain trade talks about wide receiver in good faith due to knowledge of potential suspension. So they actually knew he was going to probably get suspended, so they didn't trade him, which is the right thing to do, obviously, because if you trade him and get a ton in return, that's kind of a little bit of a bad move, a little bit of a poor move on your part. But I mean, you wonder too, like if this was a trade that happened, let's just say before Atlanta had any knowledge on this. And this trade went down, let's just say, I don't know, a couple weeks ago. Let's just say Atlanta began to get knowledge on this last week, and they began to investigate before it came public. And Atlanta traded him. Just the mess it would create for the team that got him, it would be terrible. It would be terrible. So, Falcons wide receiver suspended for the entire 2022 seasons due to gambling. And by the way, so NFL players suspended for gambling. For betting on NFL games while he was away from team in 2021. So, players that have been suspended for gambling, betting, whatever you want to call it. 1963, Alex Karras. 1963, Paul Hornung. 1983, Art Schilker. 2019 was Josh Shaw. And then obviously today, the news coming out, 2022, Calvin Ridley. So, 5 players in the history of the NFL, dating all the way back to 1963. 5 players in all the years of the NFL. 5 players have been suspended for it. So, Calvin Ridley joins very rare company and joins company that's not in a very good situation. That company that's not a very good look on his career. And by the way, Josh Shaw was the other guy that got caught. He has not played. He was not on the team this season. He has not played since getting suspended in 2019. So he hasn't played an NFL game since. So he got suspended in 2019 and has not played an NFL game since. He's 29 years old as well, so a guy who might never play again. And you look at Calvin Ridley getting suspended this season, might not play again. There's a realistic chance, and I'm sure they're going to run more of an investigation into this as well. Alrighty, so Falcons, Calvin Ridley suspended for at least 2022 season for betting on NFL games. The NFL announced Monday that Atlanta Falcons wide receiver Calvin Ridley has been suspended indefinitely and will miss at least the entirety of the 2022 seasons for betting on games this past season. Per the league's press release, Ridley bet on games in November while he was away from the team. So this is the full release. This is the full statement from the NFL regarding the Calvin Ridley situation and what it means for him moving forward, and the NFL, and what they are going to do with it. Let's see here. All right, so here is the statement regarding. It's not loading. So it's. Oh, here we go. All right, it's loading. So Falcons Calvin Ridley suspended through at least the 2022 season for betting on NFL games in the 2021 season. So NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell today suspended Calvin Ridley of the Atlanta Falcons indefinitely for at least the conclusion of the 2022 season for betting on NFL games in the 2021 season. The activity took place during a 5-day period in late November, and while Ridley was not with the team and was away from the club's facility on the non-football illness list. A league investigation uncovered no evidence indicating any inside information was used or that any game was compromised in any way, nor was there evidence suggesting any awareness by coaches, staff, teammates, or other players of his betting activity. In a letter to Ridley notifying him of his suspension, Commissioner Goodell wrote, "There is nothing more fundamental to the NFL's success and to the reputation of everyone associated with our league than upholding the integrity of the game. This is the responsibility of every player, coach, owner, game official, and anyone else employed in the league. Your actions put the integrity of the game at risk, threaten to damage public confidence in professional football, and potentially undermine the reputation of your fellow players throughout the NFL. For decades, gambling on NFL games has been considered among the most significant violations of league policy, warranting the most substantial sanction in your case. I acknowledge and commend you for your promptly reporting for an interview and for admitting your actions." Ridley may petition for reinstatement on or after February 15, 2023, pursuant to the NFL and NFLPA collective bargaining agreement. He may appeal suspension by filing a notice within 3 days. So it's bad. It is really bad. He is out and for the rest of the season. So he's got 3 days to appeal it. And you're going to have to collect evidence. It's not a good situation. So for the Falcons, for Calvin Ridley, really for everyone involved, for everyone involved, it's just not a good situation considering, how much talent he's got, what he means to the Falcons, what he's done in the league so far in terms of his statistical stuff and how good of a receiver he's been. And to be suspended like this really hurts his career and hurts the Falcons in many, many ways. And this is only the 5th incident in NFL history, dating back to 1963. This is only the first incident coming in 1963, most recently coming in 2019. So in 2019, that player has not played a game since his suspension. So it goes to show you the impact it can make on your career. And that guy right now is only 29 as well, so still was young when it happened. Ridley's only 27. And who knows when Ridley's going to be back on the football field and when it's going to be and who it's going to be for. Who knows how long he's going to be an Atlanta Falcon and if he goes to any other team if they decide to move on from him. So really, really bad incident for him and the Falcons and everyone involved, but a crazy, crazy news. So coming up next, like I said, kind of a wild turn of events today on the podcast. Coming up next, I'm going to get to Amari Cooper, and I'm going to slide Claude Giroux back to another day. So, coming up next, it was supposed to be my first topic, but it's going to be the second topic today. Coming up next, I'm going to get to Amari Cooper and the expected release of Amari Cooper from the Dallas Cowboys. We're going to talk about Amari Cooper and his possibility of being released, like I said, and why the stats show how big of a key he is for quarterbacks, and if the Cowboys do move on from him, why they could really, really be impacted in a negative way if they decide to move on. We'll get to that and much more coming up next. Alright, so welcome you back here up at the BSN podcast today, Monday, March 7th. Today, like I said, only 6 days away now, however you want to say it, 6-5, whatever it is. Sunday, March 13th will be the unveiling of the full March Madness bracket, who's in, who's not. The Selection Sunday right around the corner. Like I said, tournaments for the respective conferences begin this week. And big news also cracked in the NFL. MLB still in a lockout, so a whole lot going on in the world of sports. But we're going to get to our next topic here. Cowboys rumors. Amari Cooper likely to be released by the Dallas Cowboys to free salary cap space there in Dallas, Texas, as coming off a disappointing end to the season with the loss of the Niners in the wild card game. Amari Cooper looks as if he might have played his final game as in a Cowboys jersey and in his final game with Dak Prescott and that duo that they formed over the past couple seasons. And some big news, like I said, around the NFL. This was big news that broke on the 4th of March, which was Friday. I apologize to not talk about it. Like I said, it was frustrating because I pre-recorded my video on Thursday because my schedule was so busy on Friday. And then it ended up being that my schedule got changed and the stuff in my day just got changed and I had so much time to do a pod. And I was thinking about just doing another pod and just forgetting about the pre-recorded one, but I was like, nah, I already pre-recorded. I made my thumbnail. I pretty much had it all up. Pretty much all I had to do was press upload. So I was like, yeah, I'm not going to do that. So this came out Friday. If I did a pod on Friday, if I never pre-recorded it, I would have talked about this on Friday. But I'm going to talk about it today anyway. I still wanted to give you my thoughts on the situation. And like I said, as free agency starts to heat up, as the offseason starts to heat up, Combine's over, ended yesterday with the cornerbacks and stuff yesterday. A lot to take away from that. I definitely want to get to my Combine. I'm working on some of my notes. I'm going to get to it either tomorrow or Wednesday. I want to get to a lot of it. There's a lot I want to talk about. I'm taking some notes, standouts. I've been watching some film on the players, watched the Combine a lot, saw a lot of videos. So I've really just been dissecting guys, looking at who fits best within the defense. Been doing some film breakdowns myself, and I kind of just taking all the notes and figuring out who's the best fit. So for the Jets and for the Giants as well. So I'll get to that later down the road. That's also more near draft time, but I want to get to the Combine as well. But today, like I said, we're going to get to Cooper, and as free agency and stuff starts to heat up, you start to get some of the big names that become available. You know, you wonder what's going to happen with Davante Adams in Green Bay, Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay. Those are two big questions. You wonder what's going to happen. Ridley obviously now suspended, so he's out of the equation. You wonder what's going to happen to guys like Dalton Schultz. Christian Kirk seems to be drawing a lot of interest. Michael Gallup's a guy out there as well. Braxton Berrios from the Jets might be an interesting name to watch as other teams, could go out and pay a lot for him after his breakout season this past year. Guys like Mike Williams are out there. Like I said, Dalton Schultz. A ton of guys are out there. A ton of guys are on the market. A guy like Mike Gesicki, who wants a lot of money, but is he worth it? So there's so many questions, so many things. But this story from Amari Cooper being released is really a big one because when you look at the top tier, top echelon receivers in the NFL, Cooper to a certain extent is up in that category, and to a certain extent, Amari Cooper can be considered one of the top tier, top echelon receivers in the league. Now, is he a DeAndre Hopkins? No. Is he a Davante Adams? No. But would you put him in the category maybe right below it as very good players, game changers? Yes. Is he elite? I wouldn't say he's elite just because his injuries recently. But when he's out there and when he's healthy, the impact he can make on a team, he is one of those guys that, like I said, he's not really in the conversation of, the Davante Adamses of the world. He's more in probably the conversation of more guys like, even like the Diggs of the world, guys being up there. Cooper is definitely, you can make the arguments in that conversation. Cooper Kupp coming off the career year, but he might be in a level slightly below it. But he's still one of the best receivers in the league. He's still a top 10 receiver in the league. And I oftentimes talk about when you look at a guy, when you like to grade a guy, when you like to see what a guy can do for a team, oftentimes I use the term, where can they take a team? In terms of, if your team's here, maybe if your team's a contender, can they take you from a contender all the way to a champion? Or can they take you to a contender, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Can they take you from really bad to being a contender? Or can they take you maybe from really bad to being average? Amari Cooper is one of those guys that can take your team, take your receiving core, take your offense from really bad or bottom of the league or average to contender, one of the better offenses in the league, create a really good receiving core just by what he can do when you throw him in. And when you take him out, it could go from really good to really bad in no time. And the Dallas Cowboys have seen that firsthand when he's not playing. And since 2018, he's played with Dak. He's played the majority of the time. He's only played 9 games without Dak. So the majority of the time, he's been out there when Dak Prescott's out there. And when Dak's out there, he's only played 9 games. He's only missed 9 games. But the numbers show when Cooper's out there, the impact he can make. And when Cooper's not out there, how much of a loss that is. And the Jets have been waiting. Like I said, I'm okay if you go out and get, Gallup or a Kirk or somebody like that, and then maybe you draft a Garrett Wilson or a Chylon, Burks or a guy like a Jeremy Ruckert maybe later on, Trey McBride. You go out and sign a tight end like a Dalton Schultz or somebody like that. Maybe you go out and make a nice trade for a guy like a Jerry Jeudy, and then you focus more on defense in the draft. Like, the Jets have so many options. But one thing that I've been saying this entire offseason, you need to build around Wilson. You need to build around Zach Wilson. We did not do a good job of building around Sam Darnold, not only with talent around him, but with coaches. We seem to have figured out the front office and the coach around Zach Wilson. That is Robert Saleh, his staff, and Joe Douglas leading the way at general manager. Something Darnold didn't have. So automatically there, Zach Wilson has that. But one thing Zach Wilson needs, and what the Jets really haven't had, I guess you can say, since Brandon Marshall's breakout year, Fitzmagic's first season, which was 2016 season, where they went 10-6, and they lost to Buffalo in the final week of the season to Rex Ryan. That was the last time the Jets had like a true number one receiver that was a true threat, and teams had to, focus more on him, which opened up other receivers, opened up other guys, opened up other opportunities for other guys to get involved. Amari Cooper does that, like I said. He is that guy that the Jets can go out and get. And I said this offseason, I want the Jets to make 1 or 2 splash decisions, 1 or 2 splash moves. I would love to bring in a tight end or a receiver, one or the other, and I would love to bring in at least 1 splash tight end or 1 splash receiver. And I mean that by, I would love to go out and get, if you go out and sign like a big name like a Dalton Schultz and you sign him to a big contract, then receiver, maybe you bring in a solid asset like maybe a Gallup or a Kirk, or you wait to the draft. And maybe you focus a little bit more on the offensive line. Or if you go out and sign a big-time receiver like an Amari Cooper, Mike Williams, make a nice trade for Jerry Jeudy, somebody like that. I want to say Calvin Ridley, but I can't because he's suspended, one of those guys, like I said. And then maybe you draft a Jeremy Ruckert or a Trey McBride or whoever's available in the draft, second round, something like that, at your tight end position. I think that might be a little bit more risky because Dalton Schultz has already proven himself. You got to hope that McBride and all them fit within the offense. He's a very good tight end, but can he truly fit in the offense, and can he be that tight end that the Jets have been looking for? Can he be that staple for the next 10, 15 years? That's the big question. Dalton Schultz can definitely be that guy. If you bring in a rookie, he's got to develop. Can he be that guy? So your big thing is building around Wilson. And like I said, the Jets need to make a splash. I'm tired. I don't want this, let's sign an average receiver, hope that, let's sign a couple average tight ends and hope it works. No. We need to make some moves. We need to spend some money. You got Elijah Moore. You already got Corey Davis. You wonder what happens with Braxton Berrios. Jamison Crowder's probably going to go elsewhere. I could see him going to a contender to try to win a championship at this point in his career. So you put those guys into the equation, right? The Jets need depth, and they need some big names. Like if you were to slot Amari Cooper into the Jets receiving core right now, that to me looks like a receiving core that is really good. You put Amari Cooper, Corey Davis, Elijah Moore, and then let's say you bring back Berrios. That would be your 4 core guys. Okay? Then your tight end could be Trey McBride if you go out and draft one. That to me looks like an offense that's got very good surrounding weapons, and an offense that has a true number 1 threat. The Jets really haven't had that true number 1 threat. Robbie Anderson was not a true number 1 threat. Corey Davis is good. He's more of a number 2, not a number 1. Elijah Moore is very good, but he's still young. You can't ask him to take on a role of being a number 1 and go on the level of a Davante Adams just yet in his career. He's only in his second season. So for the Jets to go out and get a guy like Amari Cooper, I would love it. Yeah, sure, you might be spending a lot of money, but you got cap space. Spend it. Use it. Bring in a true number 1 receiver like Amari Cooper. As long as he stays healthy, he's a very good receiver, and he's one of the top 10 receivers in the league. And when he's out there, the impact he makes on the team, both when he was in Oakland and then most recently with his time in Dallas, is slim to none because he's up there in the upper echelon of receivers. Is he Davante Adams? No. But is he top 10? Is he top 15? Yes. Is he a guy that can really take an offense from where the Jets are now, and that is to really good? Yes, he can. We've seen it when his time in the Raiders and the Cowboys. And that's what Zach Wilson needs. Because the last thing I want as a Jet fan is in 2 to 3 years, if Zach Wilson's not playing up to his ability and we're all wondering what to do with him, I don't want to hear, surround him with weapons and see what can happen. Give him the weapons, and look, if he turns out to be good, he's good. You gave him weapons, boom, that's a consistent offense for the next decade and successful going down the road. If you give him weapons, you give him Amari Cooper, give him a good tight end, you already got Michael Carter, your running back, I know Ryan Jensen and the rumors about him are starting to pop up. If that's it, then fine. But if he's not good, then he's not good, but you give him weapons. And if he turns to be good, and with all these weapons, that's great. I just don't want to have the conversation of, what if? What if we give him weapons? Give him weapons so we don't have to have that conversation. Amari Cooper's a weapon. Dalton Schultz is a weapon. Trey McBride could be a weapon. Jeremy Rucker could be a weapon. Offensive line, Jensen maybe. Go out and maybe sign Sheriff. I don't know. There's so many different options. There's so many different possibilities. Garrett Wilson, Tylon Burks. There's so many different possibilities. So many different combinations you could do. Evan Neal. Do you go out and sign Kayvon Thibodeau on the edge and then focus more defense in the draft and a lot more offense in free agency? So many possibilities. Amari Cooper, definitely, though, I would love to see with the New York Jets if the Jets decide to go that route. Now, I don't want the Jets to blow all their money on offense, too, because he's still got the draft. So if you could go out and sign a guy like a Cooper and maybe another nice signing, and then you still have some money, still have some decent amount of money to build up the defense a little bit, that will then put you in the draft where you don't have to focus on one side or the other. Like to have a balanced free agency, then you go into the draft and you can have a balanced draft. Because if you focus free agency and you go all out for one side of the ball, and you got to focus and you got to rely on the draft, that you come out with good talent on the other side of the ball, it's like that's a little bit more of a risky play. But it's however Joe Douglas decides to do it. Now, I want to read you some stats. Like I said, Dak Prescott's one of the better quarterbacks in the league, and how much he's benefited with Amari Cooper being in the lineup. So, since 2018, I'm going to give you the win-loss record, the team's points per game, completion percentage, passing yards per game, and passer rating from the Dallas Cowboys when Amari Cooper is out there. With Amari Cooper on the field, Cowboys are 28-16. They score 28.7 points per game. Dak Prescott's completion percentage is 67.9. Pass yards per game is all the way up to 297.4. And his passer rating is all the way up to 102.9. Now, without Amari Cooper, the Cowboys are 3-6. They score 20.2 points per game. Completion percentage for Prescott's down to 63.5. Pass yards per game all the way down to 223.1. And passer rating all the way down to 86.1. So, with Cooper, they're 28-16. Without him, they're 3-6. So, boom, Cooper better there. Points per game from the team, 28.7 with Cooper. Without, 20.2. Boom, better with Cooper. Completion percentage, 67.9 for Dak Prescott when Cooper's in, down to 63.5 when he's out. Boom, Cooper making a difference. Pass yards per game, Dak Prescott with Amari Cooper, 297.4. Without Amari Cooper, all the way down to 223.1. Boom, Amari Cooper making a difference as well. And now passer rating. When Amari Cooper's in the game, Dak Prescott with a 102.9 passer rating. Without Amari Cooper, all the way down to 86.1. Boom. 5 major categories, 5 major things and 5 big things and how much Amari Cooper can help a team. You see it right there. When Amari Cooper's in, Dak Prescott and the Cowboys are that much better. And that could be the same in that. And you take what Amari Cooper did in the Cowboys and you put it to another team like the Jets, you see the impact he can make when he's out there. And you also got to go to the Cowboys standpoint too. Because you look at the Cowboys, and for a team that a lot of people had winning the Super Bowl last year, that first round exit at home on the wild card game was very disappointing. You got to look at the Cowboys now. Because the Cowboys have a lot of guys that are up here. So, Amari Cooper probably going to get released. And if not, maybe they look to trade him. But Amari Cooper might get released. Michael Gallup's a free agent, and Dalton Schultz is a free agent. There's a chance you lose. Let's just say you lose all 3 of those guys. You're really stuck with CeeDee Lamb and Blake Jarwin, and that's it. So Cowboys need to do a good job of, if they do lose out on guys, let's say they lose out, and I think it looks like they're going to try there. It looks like they're close or working well with Gallup right now and getting him back. Okay, so Gallup coming off a torn ACL, so you have Gallup and CeeDee Lamb. And if Cooper and Dalton Schultz go, then you're stuck with Blake Jarwin and Cedric Wilson? So, really, Cowboys are an interesting situation. Because for a team that has such a good core of players, to now maybe be down to where they're at then, where CeeDee Lamb's very good, Gallup's solid, but I wouldn't say he's a number 2 receiver. And then you put in Blake Jarwin. Definitely an interesting situation. And who knows? If you get rid of Cooper, save up some salary cap, and you go on maybe sign another guy. But the Cowboys definitely need to make sure that their offense is somewhat competitive, because they can't, for a team that was, last season they thought they had it to now just blow, and you look at how Dak does. When Dak has his weapons, he's very good. When he doesn't, he's not the same player. So Cowboys need to find out one way or the other to make sure that they still have enough weapons, even if they lose Schultz, Cooper, and I think Gallup's probably going to come back, but even him, still a question. All right, so Amari Cooper likely to be released by Dallas to free salary cap space. The Dallas Cowboys are reportedly set to release a wide receiver Amari Cooper before the new NFL league year begins March 16th. ESPN's Adam Schefter and Field Yates provided full details Friday about the expected roster move. Cooper is under contract with the Cowboys through 2024 on a 5-year, $100 million deal he signed in 2020. Dallas needs some financial flexibility heading into the offseason. However, as it sits, a projected $21.2 million above the salary cap per spot track. Releasing the 27-year-old wideout would eliminate a major chunk of that deficit. Cooper has recorded 292 catches for 3,893 yards and 27 touchdowns in 56 games across 4 seasons with the Cowboys since being acquired in 2018 in a 2018 trade with the Las Vegas Raiders. His receiving yardage, 4,173, ranks 12th in the NFL over the past 4 years, including the 2018 season split between the Raiders and Cowboys. Despite this strong production, Yahoo Sports' Charles Robinson reported a decision to cut Miami native as part of the team's plan to sign fellow receiver Michael Gallup, a potential unrestricted free agent, to a long-term contract extension. Gallup, 26 years old, missed most of the 2021 season's first half because of a calf injury and then suffered a torn ACL in Week 17, which leaves his status for the start of next season up in the air. If Gallup is re-signed, the Cowboys still have several key potential free agents. The group includes defensive end Randy Gregory, linebacker Leighton Vander Esch, guard Connor Williams, tight end Dalton Schultz, and wide receiver Cedric Wilson, another free agent like I mentioned. Or I said before, he might be the other guy, but you got to wonder. Even with CeeDee Lamb and Gallup, the Cowboys would likely be in the market for at least one wideout in free agency or the draft, as a key part of their offense's success in 2021 was a high number of targets at the disposal of quarterback Dak Prescott. Meanwhile, Cooper should have no trouble attracting interest on the open market. He's tallied at least 68 catches in 6 of his 7 NFL seasons and hauled in 46 touchdowns in 108 career games. The 4-time Pro Bowl selection is a perfect number 2 receiver for a contender or a potential top target on a team seeking to upgrade its passing attack, which would be exactly what the Jets would fall into that category of seeking an upgrade and would turn into automatically the number 1 target. Alrighty, so wild football day. Let's get to the New York sports update now. I feel like today's podcast took a wild turn, and we went from a nice calm day with Amari Cooper and dreaming about him being on the Jets, to Claude Giroux and the possibility of him being on the Rangers, to now, to Calvin Ridley suspended, Amari Cooper, like I said, is going to get released, and now the New York Sports Update. So, very, very crazy podcast today. And I'm sure there's going to be even more that comes out about Calvin Ridley. It's just pretty wild what happened there. Alrighty, so let's get to the NBA and NHL. Like I said, college basketball, there's 2 top 25 games on tonight, so this week starts up all the tournaments and stuff. As for today, we got the 76ers, Bulls. I'll give 76ers a win. Hawks, Pistons, I'll give Hawks the win. Heat, Rockets, I'll take the Heat. Timberwolves, Trailblazers, I'll take the Timberwolves. The Jazz, Mavericks, I'll take the Mavericks. I'll take the Jazz, actually. Lakers, Spurs, I'll take the Spurs. Nuggets, Warriors, I'll take the Nuggets. And Kings, Knicks, I'll take the Kings. 5 NHL games on tonight. We got the Bruins, Kings, I'll take the Bruins. Maple Leafs, Blue Jackets, I'll take the Maple Leafs. Sabres, Panthers, I'll take the Panthers. Avalanche, Islanders, I'll take the Avalanche. And Flames, Oilers, I'll take the Flames. We got 2 top 25 college basketball games tonight. Gonzaga, San Francisco in the WCC West Coast semifinal in Vegas. I'll take Gonzaga. And then we got St. Mary's and Santa Clara in the West Coast semifinal as well. I'll take St. Mary's, which should set up a good matchup between Gonzaga and St. Mary's in the final. That's always a fun one in the WCC conference. As for fantasy basketball, I'm currently I moved to 17-2 on the season with my win last week. So I moved to 1,626 and I won 1,626 and 665. So I moved to 17-2 on the season. I upped my win streak up to 4 games, and I officially clinched the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. Why did I say the Eastern Conference? Officially clinched the 1 seed in my playoff bracket, in my fantasy league. And now tonight we got John Collins, Nikola Jokic, Donovan Mitchell, Rashawn Holmes, and Tyrese Maxey all going, and the team is free of injury. So my hope is injury-free throughout the postseason, throughout the playoffs, and I won fantasy first year we did it, which was the shortened season. And in my league still always makes fun of me because they say it doesn't count. So I won the first year. We did it. The first season was 2020. That was when COVID hit, obviously. Season got put on pause. And fantasy basketball didn't return, obviously, because of the bubble and not all teams played. So if you had players from teams that didn't play, it's not fair. So the season got, obviously, done. But I technically won because I was in first place when the season was over with, so they just handed me it. So technically I won the first year. Last year I did not win, and this year I'm going back for another win. And I've always said that, like, fantasy basketball, football, and fantasy basketball, baseball, and hockey are much easier than fantasy football. And I've always said that. Basketball, I've had very good success. Last year was my worst finish, and I still finished like third. I finished first the year before that. This season, I'm going to be the 1 seed going into the playoffs. Last season, first ever year playing fantasy baseball, came in second place. Last year, first ever season playing fantasy hockey, came in second place as well. And like I said, I'm the 1 seed right now in playoffs. Now football, I've never won fantasy football. Closest I've come is third place. Never won fantasy football before. And I've been playing that for the longest. So much more success in basketball, and hopefully me being the 1 seed can get a good first round win, get a second round win, get a first round win, get to the championship, and all that good stuff. Alrighty, so that will do it for the podcast today. Another good one in the books. I'm going to get to Claude Giroux. I want to get to him at some point. I definitely want to talk about him. I had all my notes and stuff ready as what I wanted to get to. So I definitely plan on talking about him. I want to get to the Combine. Tomorrow is going to be the Combine. So, and I still had another topic in mind for tomorrow. If I never talked about Ridley today, it would have been Ridley. So I'm going to talk about the Combine tomorrow. And maybe I'll talk about MLB banning the shift. Maybe I'll get to that. The one positive of the lockout, I guess, up to this point is them banning the shift, finally. Something that should have been done a long time ago. But anyway, that will do it. So, comment down below, Crazy Pod, like I said, comment down below your thoughts on the Calvin Ridley situation and what you think of it and just betting in general with athletes and players and all that stuff. So, that will do it. Another good podcast in the books, as always. I'll see you all back here tomorrow. Hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.